recording. And can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Great. Thank you for the thumbs up, Bonnie. I am Justine Lehman, and I am the program officer at Community Foundation of the North State. And if you are here for the Fall Grants workshop, you're in the right place. I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share, and we'll get going on our workshop. Okay. So welcome. I'm glad you all are here and interested in the Community Foundation of the North State. And I'm really, really glad that you're all here doing the important work that makes the North State so great. I'm going to do some housekeeping. I've introduced myself, but Megan Wade is also on this call, and she is shy. She's not shy. There's Megan. Megan will be monitoring our chat room. I didn't see the actual Q&A box, so if you have questions, put them in the chat room, and then Megan will make sure that I hear them. We are recording this webinar, so you should have heard that, and we'll be sending it out to everyone who registered. So you'll also get a recording of it, and we'll send the PDF as well of our presentation. Sometimes it's fun to see who's here. If you feel like it, we welcome you to say who you are and what organization you're from in the chat, but we're not going to go through orally and do that. We're just going to get on with our workshop. I'm of the mind when I do presentations that I like to remember that we all learn differently. So some people need to hear it, some people need to observe it with pictures, some people need to read the words, some combination thereof. So there are lots of words on the screens, so that way if people couldn't watch it and they were coming in later, maybe you're going back and reviewing the PDF, or maybe that's just how you learn. There's lots of words. If that kind of thing is not your thing, don't read them. Look away, just listen. We're trying to meet everyone's needs as we do this workshop. This is our itinerary for the day. We're going to go over a real quick summary of what CFNS, Community Foundation of the North State, is. We're going to do an overview of our grants. I'm going to talk about eligibility and due diligence. So is your nonprofit eligible to receive a grant? I'm going to go over the applications themselves and then teach you how to get into the grant portal. There's been some changes on the dashboard, so I'm just going to cover that real quick. And then what happens next? And so we should be done with less than an hour. I timed myself and it was around 40 minutes. Maybe if there's questions, it might go longer. But I think it's going to flow really well and be a good use of your time. So are you seeing any questions, Megan, before we get started?
No, not yet. Sorry, Justine.
All right. So, Community Foundation of the North State. I think most of you have heard of, you are familiar with us on a certain level, but I just want to let you know that we are a nonprofit. Community foundations exist all over America. We are here to connect philanthropic people with the causes that matter to them. We serve officially Tehama, Shasta, and Siskiyou counties as an organization. That's who we support. But with all of the funds we have here, we support so many other counties across America. We could support other communities as well. And we also specifically support Modoc and Trinity counties through our North State Giving Tuesday. The McConnell Fund Grant in the spring supports them. Redding Rancheria Community Fund supports Trinity County. So we don't just limit to our three, but I just thought that would be helpful for you to know who our core counties are. We do a lot of things to help our communities. Community foundations are notorious for this. You see our most outward facing thing that we do, which is grants, like what we're doing right now. We have competitive grants. We have North State Giving Tuesday, which I'll have a slide at the end to talk about. That is going on right now. Registration is through the 22nd. And we also offer things like the Jumpstart Fundraising Accelerator for organizations who want some help with fundraising. We do some grants to get some great support there. But you might have, we've talked to organizations who give us a call and say, we've just been offered to, this person's given us their house, but we don't know how to do anything with the house. we have programs to help that. So we can liquidate. If everything checks off the list, we can help liquidate that for you and then give you a check. Same with stocks, that kind of thing. So if someone wants to support your organization and you don't think you can do that, don't say no. Say, let me call the Community Foundation, because we want you to continue to get the financial support in many ways in addition to the grants. So we're here to do all that kind of support. So Andrea Scott's name is on here. She is the guru, and you would just would call her, or I could connect you in when you have those opportunities come up. All right, so we are here to talk about our fall grants. And we're going to go through each of these in detail, but I just want to let you know we're talking about the Women's Fund, the Animal Welfare Endowment Fund, and Reading Rancheria's Community Fund. And just so you have the dates in front of you, the Women's Fund's grant application is due September 17th, and the other two are due October 1st. Sometimes we offer a competitive grant in the fall for our Community Arts Endowment Fund. And this year we're not doing it competitive, but we are always interested to know if you have a new art project in mind that you'd like us to know about. Just because it's not competitive doesn't mean we can't make a grant from it. So always feel free to reach out to me. We're going to do a poll real quick just to see which grants you're most interested in. So if I need to speak more heavily to one grant over another, I'll know who my audience is with me right now. Megan, are there any questions before we go there?
Yeah, we actually do have one question about the eligibility quiz.
Megan, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Megan.
Oh, okay. Justine, can you hear me?
Oh, you can hear her. I can't hear her. Well, that's odd.
Yes.
That's very interesting.
Megan, do you want us to read the question to her?
No, I just got it. Justine
she got it. Okay.
I needed to increase my volume. Sorry, folks. That's me. Right there.
Okay.
My fault. All right.
Okay, so yeah, we had one good question about the eligibility quiz for the Women's Fund. It says the requested amount should be between 1,000 to 10,000, but in the guidance, it indicated the requesting amount can be up to 40,000.
Yes, that is a detail I didn't update. It's a great catch, and I'm so glad. So it's recorded so other people can hear this too. Go ahead, if you're asking for more than 10,000, go ahead and just say yes anyway, because that was a change this year. That was an upgrade that I'm going to talk about later. And, when you're in a portal and you have all these different places to make updates and changes, I missed that piece on the quiz. So I apologize. Please say yes to that question and pretend it says 40,000. I'm not going to change it now because it will impact everyone who's already taken the quiz. So we'll just take care of it going forward. And if anyone calls to say that in the future, we'll take care of that too. Great question. Thank you for catching that. So I am 2 for 2 with errors. It's all right. Okay. So in the quiz, you need to say yes to 40,000, to 10,000, even if you're up to 40,000. Later on, then we'll see when you actually, that's just to see, are you eligible? It was just last year's. I'm sorry. Okay. And if there's problems, call us.
Yeah.
All right. Now's the time for our quick survey. Looks like, oh, don't take it down. It's still going.
Yeah.
So Reading Rancheria. Oh, it's evening out a little bit. You can do more than one, by the way, because you can apply for more than one grant. Okay, so I'm just going to write notes. I got 24%, 71%, and 43%. Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So should I share the results? Can you see them? Kind of exciting. No, that's just really helpful for me to see who's here, and then I can I'll lean into Reading Rancheria and make sure I haven't missed anything there. All right, we're back. So I am going to get into more detail in the application itself. So I'm just going to give an overview of each of the 3 grants. So don't worry if I'm not answering all your questions up front here. So the Women's Fund, this purpose is to support the mission. So when you're doing an application, you want to pay attention to that. Their mission is to create a better future for women and their families in the greater Reading area. And the greater Reading area is not just the city of Reading. So if you're in serving people or in down to Cottonwood, as long as it's still in Shasta County, up to Shasta Lake City, out to Palo Cedro, and out to Igo Ono. So in that whole bubble, that's the greater Reading area. Your grant rate is $1,000 to $40,000. And these are project-based grants. This is our only competitive project-based grant this cycle. The other 2 are general support. So that means that there is a budget required, and we're going to talk about that. But you're allowed to cover programmatic and salaries with the Women's Fund grant. And please note, if you're applying, hold November 20th in the evening, because if you are awarded a grant, you're going to be asked to come to the Giving Circle and speak for a little bit about your grant. And then there's an opportunity there. They do on-site fundraising amongst the Women's Fund members, and you'll get some extra money from that evening as well. Okay, again, just an overview. Animal Welfare Fund. This is for our service area of Shasta, Siskiyou, and Tehama counties. There's a range of grants depending on how many applicants, all that, and how much funds are available. The range is often between $1,000 and $5,000. Typically, the average is $2,500. It's not a set amount, so we take it each year to evaluate. And I mentioned these are for general support. This is unrestricted money. You're not asked to write about a project or anything in this grant. It's a very simple grant. You do need to say if you help support homeless animals or people's pets. Do you support wildlife, or do you support working animals? There is no project budget because it's not a project, and there's no timeline. It's a 12-month grant. We know this. You don't need to worry about that. It's a very simple grant. And the third one is the Reading Rancheria Community Fund. And this fund serves Shasta and Trinity counties. The grant range is anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000. The average grant size is $2,500. So sometimes they do award $10,000, but it's very rare. These are technically general support grants. They will not cover salary and wages. But you can use it for things like equipment or program or just general support. I'll get into ways to make this a competitive application on a slide further down. They do like to support Native American youth and rural communities. And I'm going to talk about this breakdown of costs. There's no budget, but it's helpful to do that. So that's just an overview of Reading Rancheria. Okay. Any questions before I go into eligibility and due diligence?
No questions in the chat so far, other than someone checking in on the arts funding.
Okay, I'll go ahead and say that. So with the arts, we usually, I don't know if you missed this beginning part, but it's not included in the competitive grant cycle this year, but we are always interested to know about art projects that you have in mind. So reach out. We have over 180 funds here at the Community Foundation of the North State. Some of them are for scholarships. Some of them are for our competitive, and a lot of them are donor advised funds and field of interest. So the Community Arts Grant is a field of interest grant fund, and it is not required that it be competitive. So sometimes, depending on the funding available and different projects that are out there, we just won't put it out for competition. But you can reach out to me and say, hey, I have this in mind. We need some funding, and then we can go further from there. Maybe it would end up that we would be able to support it through a grant without a competitive grant application. And that's how a lot of our matchmaking happens with all the other funds here. That's why I often reach out to you all and say, hey, can I come for a site visit? Tell me what's going on, and then I can match make in the future when I have a fund advisor who asks about something in your area of interest. I'll be, hey, I just talked to this nonprofit and they have this area of need, would you be interested in supporting it? And those are grants that come without an application. Okay. I'm going to move on to eligibility and due diligence. This is our job here. We have a responsibility to the IRS that we are doing our due diligence and making sure that the nonprofits we grant to are in good standing. So there's basically 3 things we look at. You do need to be a nonprofit 501c3 public charity. There's 501c fill in the blank, 4, 6, what have you, they're nonprofit, but they're not public charity. So the public charity is important. Or you could be a public entity, like a school or a special district or a city. Or you could be fiscally sponsored, like maybe you do nonprofit work, but you don't have your full nonprofit status, but another organization might be your fiscal sponsor. So you can be supported under them. You could still apply, and then you'd have a fiscal sponsor. Federally recognized tribes, they apply as public agencies. And non-federally recognized tribes would apply either if they have a nonprofit status or they could have a fiscal sponsor. So how do we determine if you are in good standing? Well, first we look and see if you have any past due reports with the Community Foundation of the North State. And if you do, well, you want to do all this beforehand. You want to make sure all your ducks are in a row. So you're going to see in the few slides here, if you already have, your organization already has an account with us, you'll log in and see if you have any past due or upcoming reports that are due. So we check that. Then we go on to GuideStar here, and this here, guidestar.org, is the website. You can go on there. There's no fee to start an account. You want to create an account and check your own organization. Do you come up there? Is everything good? The only time that nonprofit statuses that we've seen that they get pulled back is if you've gone 3 years without filing your tax returns with the IRS. So that's with the IRS. Then the other thing we checked is with the state of California. So we want to make sure your statement of information is up to date. That's every 2 years you have to renew that. They also are connected to if you haven't done your tax returns with the state as well. So we go to this bizfileonline.sos.ca.gov search business to check that. And if we do any of these and we find that there's after you submitted your application, we'll check these. And if it's not satisfactory, we'll send you an email and say, this is your deadline to get this done by. So you can still apply and tell us you're working on it behind the scenes, and just make sure we're just getting it done. We want to help you. We don't want to say like, sorry, can't apply. We're here to help you. We want to support our nonprofits, but we're required to do these things. And then not on like due diligence side, but on eligibility, can you agree to the terms, finish the project in 12 months? You can't have spent the money that you want to use the grant money for before the grant's awarded. So it has to be expenses occurred after the award date. No, the non-discrimination policies, are the costs you want to do eligible, all those things. So you want to think about all that as well. Okay, so any questions about that before I move into the application and some tips on the application and what it looks like?
It looks like we're all good in the chat.
Thank you.
Oh, I spoke too soon.
Okay.
So somebody would like to know, we just got our nonprofit status. Our organization probably won't be on either of these websites. Would we still be eligible to apply?
You would. So if I'm not going to find you on the website, I'll reach out to you and say, hey, do you have your copy of your IRS letter that says, not that you have an EIN, but it says that you have a nonprofit, like this, the 501c3 public charity status. That letter we'll want. And then likewise with the state of California, they're really quick, but if you have paperwork from them, we would need both. I mean, if you're brand new and you're not, like we might say, oh, can you send us your letter, your articles of incorporation? We might, but if the other two are fine. So short answer is yes. Long answer is everything I just said. Any others?
No, she just said, perfect, we have both.
Awesome. Okay. So go ahead and say yes to all those things, and then when we get there, we'll contact you. Okay, so in the application process, we have, I'm going to talk about the application and then going through it. And then I'm going to go to how do you get onto the grant portal and do it online, because everything's online. But I really, really recommend that you download the PDF, you write out your answers in Word, or that you gather your documents. If you use Excel if you're doing a budget, and then go back to the portal and actually fill it out online. It'll be a lot easier for you, I promise. So that's what we're going to cover is like number one here. Okay, so I'm going to tell you where to find the application. So this is our website, the cfnorthstate.org/grant, and then /grants with an S on the end. And then you want to scroll down to this box. You'll see it's not a box on the screen on our website, but what grant opportunities are available. And then do yourself a favor and click which application status is open right now, and then hit submit. And then this will see all of the ones that are open right now to apply for will populate. So you'll pick the one you're interested in and click read more. And then this is what's the first page of what the application looks like. No, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. This is what will populate then, and then you need to click preview the application. So I've said read more about Women's Fund, and this is what you can see. You can see prior awards, information about when it's due. But click preview application questions, and then it will download, or maybe take you, on my case, it takes me to a browser with a PDF open, like an Adobe browser online. So I'm looking at the application online. I want it downloaded on my computer. In my case, and your computer might be different, I happen to have this little down arrow that I can download it. Maybe you have to click something else on your machine, but I just want you to know there's different things that you need to be aware of to download, because I don't know your skill level. We have all different skill levels watching this video, so you'll need to download it to your computer. And then you can print it and write on it and take notes. All right, so the application itself, these are just different snippets from the application, and I want to speak to it. So the first one is the beginning of the application. We'll say the name of the grant cycle, and it'll talk about the grant information parameters first thing. This is a gem. It has got so much good information for you. Do not sell yourself short or this process short by ignoring this. Everything that's a different color highlight is a different piece of information that you should be paying attention to write the strongest grant. So this, for the Women's Fund, you need to be addressing their mission, which is to create a better future for women and their families in the Reading area. I've highlighted it in yellow to see that's one thing. You need to make sure you're doing that. Then, are you geographically set? I highlighted that in blue. How much money? Highlighted in green. I applied last year. Can I apply again this year? Yes, you can. See, it's highlighted in yellow. I did the highlighting, by the way, just for the presentation. You're going to need to give a presentation at the Women's Fund. So this is different for each application process. So if this is what the Women's Fund says, read it and make sure you go back when you're editing, make sure you've addressed everything in here. It makes you, it's just good grant writing. And then on this side of the screen, I have some other tips for you. So anything that has a red asterisk is a required question. But when you print the application, you're printing all of it. And there's a couple questions that don't apply to everybody. The very first question you're going to be asked when you apply is, are you a 501c3? Are you a public entity? Or are you fiscally sponsored? And when you're online in the portal, whichever one you answer, it will then only show you the organizational financial questions that pertain to you. But when you print it, it's going to show you all of them. So I don't want you to get worried and think, oh my gosh, they keep asking for the same thing over and over. So when you're reading the printed copy, you'll see organizational financials for the 501c3. If you're a 501c3, that's the only thing you need to worry about. You don't also need to worry about this one that's for public entities and this one that's for fiscally sponsored. So just a little tip. We sometimes get phone calls because it's a little overwhelming. I just saw the pop-up, Megan. It says of the fiscally sponsored organization.
Yeah.
Should I answer that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay.
So we have an organization in town that they're not a nonprofit, but the work they do is nonprofit and it's called Olive View Farms. And they do work with youth from probation and other programs, and they teach them how to work on the farm. And they themselves, the farm itself is not a nonprofit, but the work they're doing falls under all of that. Like they absolutely are. So they're they are allowed to get grants but they have to be sponsored by another organization. So originally United Way was their fiscal sponsor. So all of you farms would write an application for a grant to support something they were doing with the youth at the farm. They're teaching them classes for, not making, it's not as a nonprofit. But they themselves don't have a nonprofit. So they apply, and the application, they would mark this. They then now have to provide the financials of the United Way or whoever their fiscal sponsor is. It doesn't have to be United Way. Like any nonprofit could be a fiscal sponsor of another one if you have that relationship. And then the check gets written to the fiscal sponsor, and the fiscal sponsor is responsible for making sure that money is spent properly. And they would probably have a contract or an agreement with the United Way with all of you in this case. Just one example.
Great. Thanks for that, Justine.
Yep. So these are some more general tips for the application. We really want you to keep it simple. One of the great things about the Community Foundation is that we include the community in a lot of the work that we do. And one of those ways is that our panelists review the applications, and they're trained, and they do 2 years in a row where they're on a panel. So they're not people who necessarily are in the world of what you do day in and day out. They might not have ever heard of your organization before, even though you might be the YMCA that everyone knows about YMCAs, but I don't really know all the details of what you do. If you use acronyms, if you use jargon, I'm not going to get it, and it's going to be harder for me to read and understand your application. So really keep it simple, make it easy to understand, know that people who are not in your industry are going to be reading it and evaluating it. You don't have to write to the character limit that we have. You can think 1 to 2 paragraphs, but just make sure that it's expressing what you need to express to tell the story of why you're applying for the money. The project name is early on in the application, and it's not even supposed to be a proper full sentence. We literally want like a phrase. And in this example, to create an interactive street theater project in downtown Reading. Do you know who? Do you know when? Do you know why? No, we don't care. We want this to be a tickler, like this is what this project's about. And then we'll go in and see more of the details in the application. For general support grants, you can literally say for general support. Or if you want it to be a little more specific, because you want to have a little bit more of an idea of what you're doing, you could say something like, well, for general support to offset the rising horse care costs. So that maybe you want to know that this is a little bit more geared to a specific thing, but you don't write a big sentence in there at all. It's just to help us see, to remind us this is what this application is focused on.
We have a question real quick, Justine.
Yeah.
Would you guys recommend applying for more than one grant category?
You absolutely can. What you can't do is apply more than once to a category, but you could apply to all 3 if your organization does things that are legitimately a part of what you do as an organization. You could very well do something with animals, and you have a program where the girls come and do it for the Women's Fund. Like you could do like therapy with animals that girls are involved with, and then because it's with youth, the Reading Rancheria might be like to support it. So you literally could, your organization could be supported by all 3.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing prohibiting you. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. So a few tips about the Women's Fund, and this is our one project-based grant this cycle. So you're going to have goals. So in the applications, it's going to say, what are your goals? And this, they want you to talk about both your outputs, like what you're putting into it. What are you going to be doing? Are you doing a workshop? Are you teaching girls how to do things? And then also what the outcomes are. What are they going to get out of it? So you would be including what are the tangible things, how many people, what types of projects are you doing, who's going to attend, and then what change do you expect to see. So I have in purple there, I don't know if it shows up well, that's the mission statement, because you need to be addressing their mission statement. How will the project create a better future for women and their families in the Reading area? That's a part of your outcomes. Like, by doing this, we're making it better for women and children. So make sure you make that very clear, that the person reading it doesn't have to think, well, it could fit. Like, no, tell it. They do like to know, how will your grant continue, how will your project continue after the grant ends? It doesn't mean you wouldn't get funded if it was just this one cycle. It doesn't have to be something you can continue. But if it's competitive and they're like, which one should we fund to, if all things being equal, maybe the one that could continue, maybe that's sort of germinating a new project. You have other ways to continue it, like that might be make your application a little stronger. And community collaboration is important in all of these applications. And as a person who's been in the nonprofit administrative world since the 90s, I know that community collaboration is important, especially up in the North State, because we're isolated and we have less resources. But now with our administration and the changes in things that are being funded and programs, projects, funding that's being cut, we are already seeing the direct impacts of that, and we're going to probably see more and more. So I'm just going to tell you, from having talked to other people in my position at other community foundations and other foundations across the state, that when you share in a grant application, that you are coordinating and collaborating with other nonprofits, that is a really big strength you bring to the table. Doesn't mean you're collaborating specifically with money on this project, but that you work with other organizations. We cannot silo right now. In order, if we're going to all make it through this administration and the cuts and like the fear of with money, we have to work together. So that's just not help for this application. That's help for you in general. All right, my little soapbox there. Timeline, they'll want to know a timeline because this is a project based, and then likewise, then you'll also need to provide a budget. So we have added this visual of a budget on the application, which we hadn't done in the past, basically because I learned how to do it. So it's not fillable because I didn't want to make cornhole you. I didn't want you to be like, you have to do it exactly like this, because you have your organization and way of doing things, and I wanted to give you that flexibility. But I also wanted to give you a visual of what makes it really easy to understand your budget. So I'm going to take a minute here. This top part of the budget example just explains the vocabulary. What does general funds mean? What does examples of in-kind, etc. That's what this is up here. You don't have to use this format, but it's really helpful because what it does is this first two columns, your expenses, it shows you what revenue sources are covering it. And there's no question. There's not like, oh, wait, did they said this in their narrative, but I'm not tracking it on their budget. This spells it out. Like, your narrative will match your budget, and it'll be like, oh, I get it. Yes, they got their stuff together. This is going to work. So, for example, this two-stall climate-controlled restroom tailor is $48,000. In this grant request, you're asking for $38,000 of it, and you have another grant that you've been awarded, and you're putting $10,000 of that towards it. So your total revenue matches your total cost for that part of your project. And then you have this next piece, a hand washing station. So the grant's going to pay for all of that. But then you have site prep. Well, you having general funds towards a project shows you have skin in the game, because that's part of your money, your bread and butter. You're investing. Maybe you're paying your staff time. Maybe you have some funds out of your general operating expenses that you can put towards. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it shows that you're also invested in this project. Community fundraisers are great. They don't have to be huge. Just like the community's donating money, you're making an effort to fundraise outside of this grant. Doesn't always work, but if you have a little bit, like, that's great. Like 2,000 is kind of a lot. Maybe you have a little less, but it shows that you're making an effort when it comes down to competitive grants. In-kind donations, I think, are sometimes overlooked. So if you have some volunteers, your project has to do with painting your building and putting on a new roof. And you have volunteers who are going to do tons of prep work, taping, cleaning, all that stuff. If you had to pay a vendor to do it, That would cost you money. So we want you to monetize that. What would you pay a vendor to do that work? Do your best guess. Put down that's what the cost is, and all of it's coming from in kind. And you put that dollar over here because your people are volunteering to do that. Also, if you have a vendor who's going to paint your building, but they believe in you too. So instead of charging you $1,500, they're a really great vendor. So this utility hookups guy, it's $1,500, right? Or woman, she's going to do your utility hookups. It would cost $1,500. She's only going to charge you $500. She's donating $1,000. So she's taken $1,000 off her invoice. Well, if you just say it only costs $500 for utility hookups, that seems low. And your panel's going to be like, who are they having do it? That's dangerous, for one. But also, this person lives in your community and they're donating their time and services. They could get paid so they could, pay their taxes, whatever, but instead they're giving it to you. Put it on your budget. This is a great story. It makes it very clear, and it tells a good story, and it should match your narrative. Are there any questions about this?
None in the chat. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So fewer application tips on animal welfare and the Reading Rancheria Community Fund, but I do have a couple. These are very simple applications. You're really just going to say a bit about the history of your organization. What do you want to achieve this year? Again, this is general support, so it's not a project. Just what do you feel like you're going to achieve this year? What are your goals? How are you going to improve the lives of animals? Again, this community collaboration piece comes into it. Talk a little bit about that. With the Animal Welfare Fund, even though we're not going to ask you to track your data and how many animals you serve, we know it's an important skill for programs that work with animals to get other grant funds and to show that you demonstrate. So we ask this question because we know it's an important way of helping you grow as a nonprofit that works with animals. So tell us, how do you do that? There's no budget. It's really simple. And that's literally it. Okay, the Reading Rancheria Community Fund is almost as simple, but I want to give you a tip here. You're going to be asked if you could accept a grant with partial funding. So if you really want this to be for a specific project, and if you don't get the full $10,000 ask, you can't do it, then say no. But if you could accept any partial funding, say yes. Because one of the beautiful things about Reading Rancheria is they understand that the whole community supports Reading Rancheria through different events and programs that we attend at their location. And they also want to support their community. So it's more important to them that they give to us more organizations than less. So sometimes that means that they have less funds, but touching more organizations. And I think that's really beautiful. So if you can take less, then say yes, you can take partial funding. You're just going to give an overview of your organization. And then really the narrative for this is, how would the grant help your organization this year? And how do you intend on spending this money? So after we read your Reading Rancheria Community Fund grant, and then we get together with the panel, and they have this great panel. There's about 12 people on it. And the day that we sit down, they've reviewed it ahead of time. We sit down. It's kind of fast, and we want to you want it to be that the panelists could quickly look at your narrative, and if they gave you less than full, where would it go? What would it do? So for example, I just pulled these out of 2 different applications. So you've written your narrative about doing search and rescue, and we've asked for this money. $3,200 would get me an elevator rescue motor system, $650 for an Astro Dog tracking bundle, and $250 for the second. So if I'm sitting there and I want to support this, but I don't have the full amount, then I could say, oh, well, we have enough to give you like the $650 plus the $250. And I can do that quick math and say, like, okay, that's what we're going to grant to them. That's sort of a scenario sometimes it'll play out. So you want to allow the panelists to quickly see how they could break down what they're giving you if they can't give you the full ask. There's a different example. So helping feed children. It's 50 cents a day per child. And it's 44 children in the program. So that's $22 a day. And we have 180 days. I can do quick math. And I could say, okay, well, I can't do the full 180 days, but if I gave you this much money divided by 22 a day, how many could I feed? And then they can come up with a number. So It's going to look different for you guys. I don't want you to stress about it. I just wanted you to have examples of how to incorporate that into a narrative, how do you incorporate money into a narrative, and this is how you do it. Are there any questions?
No, all good in the chat.
Okay. So then I'm going to move on to the second part here of the application process is the grant portal. We're going to shift gears now. So if you already have you've already applied to our organization before for grants, then you've been in our portal. On July 29th, I sent out an email that said, hey, they made some great updates to your dashboard. So the landing place where you go and how it organizes your grants, what reports you have, if you have anything due, if anything past due, if you're in the middle of an application, to make it a lot easier to navigate. I'm very happy with the changes. So this slide just talks to that real quick. So there's an update. So if you're new, you're not going to know any different. It's just going to be what it is. But if you've been here before, I'm going to recommend that you go to here to see the tutorial, to get to this page. Foundant is the company that runs the software program. GLM is Grant Lifestyle Manager. That's the grant side of our program. And that's where you are in the portal. You're using GLM. So this is a tutorial. So I recommend you go here and you click on this guy, and it's a great little quick video, and they're really good, and they show you so many different things than I could, because I don't have the same dashboard as you, by the way. Mine looks different. So and then even more. It's a really, you'll discover, oh, I could look at these other things and how to do things. But what I don't want you to do is listen to what they have to say about adding a new account, because we get very often duplicate organization accounts made. So YMCA already had an account, but somebody new's on board, they're applying and they don't know, so they created a whole new YMCA account. Now I have 2 YMCAs in my grant program and I have to merge them together. So we just ask you, call us, call Megan, call me, we'll double check. If you're not sure, then we'll take care of that. But don't listen to them about adding an account. So how do you find our portal? You again go to our website, the cfnorthstate.org/grant/grants with an S. Scroll on down till you get to apply for a grant and click visit our grant portal. It's like magic. And this is your landing spot. This square that I missed the line on the side because I cropped it. This is what you look like when you log in. Please bookmark this because you're going to come here a lot. So your email address is your what you'll use. That's your user account. And I want to just say, before I say anything else, that every individual is linked with a unique login attached to their unique email. Please don't share your email with somebody else. So that happens a lot when we have turnover on boards, or maybe, nonprofits, we have staff turnover. Just give us a call. I can add you. It's no big deal. It takes us, it's so quick to add you as a user. And then you can also tell us, oh, this person's not with us anymore, take them off. That helps us having those conversations. If you've been here before and you can't remember your password, it's really simple. Forget your password, easy peasy. Again, I have this little warning sign. I already spoke to it on the other page. Please don't click create new account. That's not to add you as a user, that's to create a new organization. So we want to help you. We will help you. Just give us a call. So you've logged in, and then that takes you here. This is the new landing page. I have specific permission from Erna Friedeberg, the executive director at NVCSS, to use their slide here. So the different things that's so great about this is it's all in one place to see them all. So if you have, they don't have a past due report, but this is for example. So you have a past due report. Well, that's a part of are you eligible to apply? So you can look on your site and you'll know straight away if you're caught up. So that's great here. If you have anything that has action needed, again, this is the past due report. If you have other grants you want to look at, it's really helpful. But you're here because you want to apply. So how do you apply? You can click apply, or you can click see opportunities. And then you'll see this. So this is right now, because we have a competitive grant cycle open, these are your eligibility quizzes. So this is for the Women's Fund, this is for the Reading Rancheria Community Fund, and this is for the Animal Welfare Fund. So you're going to click check eligibility, and you're going to take that little quiz. And on the Women's Fund, even if it's over $10,000, you're going to say yes. It's a very simple quiz, and then you submit. So basically, we're just making sure, are you a nonprofit? Are you caught up? Are you aware of this? And then it takes you you'll go back to this page. So you've hit submit, and then it'll take you back to this that we were just looking at on the other slide. This was the quiz you took, and now, because you've done it successfully, you're eligible. Now it's given you a new screen, which is your application link to actually fill in the application. And you would click apply. But before I take you to the next slide, do not be embarrassed. Look at the 2 mistakes I made on this webinar. We all do it. It's not unusual for a couple people each time to be like, I clicked the wrong button, or I put the wrong amount in, and now I'm not eligible to apply. Because it says, sorry, you're not eligible, and this won't populate. Just give us a call. We can reset it for you. Okay? And then you can retake it. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. So we've already talked about the application. I'm obviously not going to talk about it again, but when you're filling it out, this is just the top part, like a snip of kind of like the page of when you're filling it out. Like, see, this says application. And then they'll have all those questions that you'll just like scroll down and answer them. As you're filling it out, taking the information that you've already gathered because you were really great and printed your PDF or downloaded it and have all your stuff to go. If you need to stop and come back at any time, just save your page. It'll do autosave, but it's always a good idea to save before you leave. It's on the last page. So even if you're not last page, scroll down and click save. And likewise, every once in a while, someone will think that they hit submit, like they came back to upload their docs. They're waiting to get into you have to have your balance sheet and your profit and loss sheet, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And then once you've submitted your application, so they forget to go back and submit. So I'll look the morning that they were due, and if there's anyone that had everything in there, but obviously they didn't hit submit, I'll reach out to you and say, hey, did you still want to apply? You forgot to hit the submit button. And then once you do, you will get an email confirmation or a screen. It'll pop up on your screen. A couple different things will happen. You'll know that you successfully did submit your application. And then you'll see it in your portal. You'll see like your application that you submitted. If you want to download a PDF of the application you submitted, come back to this screen. This is a part of your application. And then you click the application packet. And that will download a PDF onto it'll put it into a PDF format, and then you probably have to download it like I showed you before. Your balance sheet and your profit and loss. For the Women's Fund, you'll need to provide those. You don't have to provide, oh wait, no, yeah, you probably have, you do have to, I'm sorry, I'm not talking budgets. I'm talking showing, this is demonstrating to us that you're in a good financial space as a nonprofit. So you'll be asked to provide a statement of activity, which is also a profit and loss statement. Statement of activity is more of nonprofit language. So it's the most recent 12-month period. And so we really don't want a 2023 P&L or even a 2024. We want to see your most recent. We know that they might not be audited. That's okay. And we want it to be 12 months. And then your balance sheet, a profit and loss shows what's happened over time. How much money have you brought in? How many expenses have you had? What does rent cost? What does personnel cost? What does your program cost? It shows those types of things. Your balance sheet is a snapshot for one day in time. How much money is in your bank? Who do you owe? It's a one snapshot. So your date of your balance sheet needs to be the same as your last date on your P&L. So you have a range in your P&L. It should, like, let's say it ends December 30th, 24. Then your balance sheet would be December 30th, 2024. And then you can line them up. It helps. That's how you read them. So that's why we asked for that. Any questions?
Yeah, so is a P&L from 7/24 to 6/25 and balance sheet at 6/25 current enough?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's close enough.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what happens next? It can't be overstated. Please make sure that Megan and I are contacts in your email because it happens. I'll email questions, follow-up questions the panel might have before they come to their decision about recommendations for who to fund, and they might have a clarification. So I'll communicate that way. I'll communicate if you do or don't get the grant. So have our emails in there. Have us as contacts. That way they don't go to your spam. Next, once you've submitted, we'll do our due diligence. We'll let you know if there's any problems. Then my panels will review your applications. I'll email you if they have follow-up questions. It's really unusual to have site visits, but it does happen. And that a site visit is not a reflection that, oh, you're going to get a grant. A site visit's a reflection, oh, they have follow-up questions, or they need to see a little bit more. They're not quite understanding. So it's not a bad thing, and it's not a good thing. It's just a thing that sometimes happens during a grant application process. So because we're dealing with panelists, I have limited windows. So if I do need to do a site visit, I'm going to email you. I have this date on this time. Please can we come? We'll be out of your hair in 20 minutes. We come in, we see it, ask a couple questions, and we leave because you have more important work to do. But that's what that looks like. And then the grant panel makes a recommendation, and then the board approves, and that will be in the November board meeting. And then all emails will go out for awardings and maybe not awardings by the end of November. FYI, if you get a grant, there'll be that email that you get will be a link to a grant agreement, so you have to sign it electronically, and then we can process the check after that, and you'll get a check in the mail. And then 12 months later, you'll be asked to complete a report. And depending on the size of the grant and how much it is, it might be just like, please send us some pictures, or it might be, please report to us what you did with the money, or something in between. We really like to share out the work you do with the funds you get through grants, because then it rewards the fund advisors want to see. They want to see the work that's going on. We want the community to know. Then people will continue donating, so then we can continue handing out to you. So this is a really, really, really important part of the grant cycle. Great pictures are important. I have examples in the grant report, so you don't have to worry about remembering all this. But I do just want to say, we know that you sometimes can't have identifying information about your clients who are there. You can tell a beautiful story without a face. Children's hands playing in with chalk, or people dancing with their shadows, or so many different things, and tell a great story with that. So don't shy away from it. It's just capture those moments. It's really good. And if you happen to get money to do something really boring, like put on a roof, show us a picture of someone working on the roof, not just the roof. It tells the story. That's how the money was used. If you don't get a grant, it happens because the competition is sometimes really hard. Sometimes I have feedback for you. So if you email me and say, do you have feedback on my grant? How can I make it better? If I have feedback, I will absolutely share it with you, because that's my job, is to help you improve and to say oh, there was this piece, or what have you. But a lot of the times there's literally nothing you could have done. It's just so competitive. For example, this bullet number 3, this is not uncommon. This is pretty much every year. There's $100,000 per cycle for Reading Rancheria and $400,000 in requests. That was spring of 24. So sometimes there's nothing you could have done. It just didn't get funded, or didn't get fully funded. We have different ranges of people watching this video and on this webinar. So when I say seek diverse revenues, I know some of you are doing that, but some people are newer nonprofits. So you do need to do this, especially in this day and age where programs are getting cut with federal monies and state monies. So the more diverse you can have, the better you are at being a strong nonprofit. So do try for other things. And to that end, we have a couple of things coming up to help you. I'm going to skip to this slide. We are getting a lot of questions about needing more help for nonprofits that need to, we need more money. We're losing more money. And so we have a great team here. And Andrea and Carrie are putting on this webinar. I highly recommend it. You want all your board members here. You want your volunteers here. You want your staff here. They're going to cover a myriad of different things. And there'll be a lot of takeaways of what things you can do to strengthen your nonprofit. So you want to scan here to register. Do that anyway. Register even if you think you can't attend, so that we can send you information about accessing the recording. I believe it's going on the YouTube video. You can scan this right now if you want with your phone. But that's the new thing, where this is how we're being responsive to our nonprofits. And then our tried and true North State Giving Tuesday. It's going on right now. So registration's open, and it ends on the 22nd of November. If you register before, I'm going to look away for a second and look at my notes because I want to tell you the right thing. Okay, so we have early bird prizes, and it's everyone who is registered before midnight on September 5th. And it doesn't mean you just put your name and the minimal information. It means like you're done. You've done everything to the best of your ability. You've got all your stuff to register for NSGT. Then you will be in a drawing to get 5 organizations will get an additional $500 added to their donation. So it's worth it to register early, for sure. And the drawing will be it'll be added to it's a random drawing of those who qualify, and it will be added to your total raised on December 2nd, which is North State Giving Tuesday. And I should have been on the screen, sorry. If you're not registered on our newsletter, you should do that. Go to our website, just our main website there at cfnorthstate.org, and smack in the middle of the screen is enroll here for our newsletter. It's a quick read. It's almost every month. We include what's going on here, like, we have grants opportunities coming up. We have these webinars going on, but we also include, when we learn about other grants outside of us, we include that information there too. And I hear from a lot of nonprofits that they love that. So quick read, don't ignore it, like have it on your radar. It's just an e-newsletter, and you'll be glad you did. Whew, we made it. 2 minutes to spare. I didn't know it was going to take a full hour. It was less last night, but. So paste the link to the webinar in the chat. That is a great idea.
Yes. Can you go back one slide, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'm looking at the chat too. Ria, what are you saying? I didn't have.
I was just saying that your presentation probably went shorter because you didn't have to answer questions.
Oh, yeah, true story. Okay. All right. Well, we are at the end. Are there any other questions that you have? Anything else we can do for you?
Okay. Look like it.
I'm going to be going on vacation on Tuesday, and I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. It's a big trip, bucket list trip, but Megan here has all your backs. So anything comes up, you have questions about the applications or anything, email Megan. Her email's on there. Give a call. Emails are always best because when you call, we might not be able to give you our full attention. And then when we see it in writing, we better understand what you need and can prepare before talking to you. So we are here to help you do the best application possible. So don't be afraid to call out to ask us. Okay. All right. Thank you all. We appreciate your good work.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right. You are what makes the North State great, in my humble opinion. So take care.